All right, guys. Welcome to Thursday night edition of Baitman Live. Over here to your right, my right, is Wyatt Frankens. Wyatt, thanks for joining me tonight.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk to you and get to shed some light on some things that we're doing and talk about the industry and a lot of things as a whole. So,
Yeah, man. So before anybody chastises me too much about my shirt, Wyatt already said, "Dude, what is going on here?" And my buddy Richard Dick Duckett, I follow him on Instagram. I found this clean out my yard sale stuff this morning. I'm going to have a big yard sale. If you're local, come by next Saturday to my wife's work. We're going to have a lot of fishing tackle, stuff like that. And I said, look, I found you a shirt. And he said, I dare you to wear it on the stream. So I'm wearing it now. But I'm fixing to have an appropriate clothing swap here in just a minute. But I listened to a podcast, I guess it's about a week ago. There's a group on Facebook. It's a Six Sense fishing fan page. And Zach Kennard shared it, the Godfather, and I listened to it, but it had so much good information. It had Casey Sobsack from Six Sense on there. But I listened to the whole thing, not just the little part with Casey. And dude, you and your podcast, the juice is legit, man. I really enjoyed listening to you guys.
yeah, man. I appreciate it. It's me and my buddy Shane Campbell, and we had been talking about doing a podcast for a little while now. And
Right.
Shane is actually the owner of Tackle Addict.
Okay.
He's a co-owner of Tackle Addict along with Brian Robinson. He just bought in. I don't know, probably. I guess it's been about a year now when B-Rob bought in. And if you don't know Brian Robinson, he used to play for the Minnesota Vikings. Really good guy. And he's big into fishing. Been big into fishing. So great guy. But yeah, Shane's owner of Tackle Addict. We've when I worked there for a little while, I was there for the marketing side of things, doing his website stuff, and we had talked about doing a podcast for a while, and kind of coming in with a different approach on the podcast because there's already several podcasts within the industry.
Oh, yeah.
And we were just going to kind of give it a different look. And man, we've only got 2 episodes out there, but like you said, that second one with Casey was really kind of what we're going to be about, kind of digging a little deeper for some of the truths in the industry and kind of shed some light on some things. So I think there's going to be some good things come from it. I really do.
Yeah. I thought I answered a lot of questions. A lot of people have been asking me, whether it's on social media or YouTube, Instagram, because I'm going to change shirts after I ask this question.
Okay.
But I'm distracted by my own shirt. I don't, and I'm not sponsored by Duckett, so I don't want anybody to think that. But anyway, a lot of people have been asking, hey, man, I'm wanting to order this from Tackle Warehouse. I'm wanting to order this from Tackle Addict or all these places. And, you hear, oh, so-and-so, they're terrible shipping and this. I really don't feel like the general public understands what's really happened in the fishing industry, not just from a supply chain issue, but also, from a retailer issue. When you're in retail, I was in it for a long time. You've obviously basically did the same thing I did. It sucks when you can't take care of a customer and your hands are tied, but yet sometimes you take the brunt of that.
Right. Yeah, and that was why Shane being the owner of Tackle Addict, he sees it a lot. When I was there, I saw it a lot, and especially after the COVID pandemic. It got a little worse for sure, and it was nice to have Casey on the show to kind of shed some light on what's happening with that and what's going on within the industry as a whole from COVID. And he brought up some really, really key stuff. He brought up some really important stuff about as far as even shipping containers, what they cost, how much they've went up, going from $4 or $5 up to 24, 25 grand. We're talking. He got into discussing not getting drivers for the trucks. I mean, it's literally a issue, and the retailer takes the hit on it.
Right.
And so I was really glad that we got Casey on the show. I'm sure Shane was happier than I was because he deals with it all the time at the shop. People come in and say, "Hey, man, where's this bait or that bait?" The key sellers, Tackle Addict Slam, pack full of tackle, but there's always the big sellers around the lake, and it's tough getting product in. And I'm really glad Casey got on the show and shed some light on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Casey's always been, I got to know him really from the bass fishing homepage days a little bit, and then uh, back in my role, running Tackle Freaks and other stuff, we really hit it off, and we could call each other about totally stuff unrelated to Sixth Sense, just the industry, and we've always had a really good understanding of what's going on, and it's different when like I tell people something. I think for the most part, people understand and respect, where I'm coming from, but there's a lot of people in the general fishing that they don't know who I am, and I'm really a nobody. Don't get me wrong, but when Casey says that, or the president of Strike King, or Berkeley's like, "Hey, listen, this is a global issue. This is not just we can't make them fast enough. It's a crazy deal." So
it hits different. It hits different when a guy like that says it.
And the demand for products is really high right now. We still got COVID. It's lingering, whatever, but everybody wants to go fishing, and what you had happen last year, you had a bunch of these people that never went fishing. They took up the sport. They went to their local retailer, the Tackle Addict, their local store. Then they got on Tackle Warehouse, and then they go, man, you know what? I like this, and I like these products. So instead of them buying $20 a product, they're buying $100 a product, and you get guys that are tackle junkies like me. I go find something I like, and there's 3 on the peg, I'll just buy all 3.
Right.
But the problem now, if you buy the peg out, you don't know when that peg's going to be filled again.
No, you don't. You really don't. And I'm the same way, especially fishing tournaments on Rayburn. A lot of times, you may just clear a peg just because you don't want anybody else to have that bait.
That's right.
So, it really is it's been a big issue. I know it's weighed on Shane pretty heavy, and he's one of my really good friends, and I know it was just good for him on that side, for Casey to come on and say that. Like you said, a guy like that saying that, it hits different. And it's not just Sixth Sense. It's the fishing industry as a whole. You're going to see all that happen with every brand. It doesn't matter how big the company is. You're going to see that start to come. We talked about the plastisol shortage. That's for every soft plastic company, any company that makes a soft plastic. They're going to be affected by that. The cost of baits are going to probably go up because of those shortages, and like Casey brought to light, the cost of shipping containers and packaging and the whole 9 yards. We're going to see effects from it, and not just the fishing industry, but pretty much the whole economy as a whole. And that's just where we're at with it.
Well, let me ask you this: how is the fishing there? Tackle Addict is located near Sam Rayburn, correct?
On the south end of Sam Rayburn, it's on the lake.
On the south end of Sam. How is the fishing on Sam Rayburn right now? And, if a guy's going to walk into Tackle Addict or get on your website, you're a guide, and you can plug your guide business all you want to. What are some baits right now that guys need to get because they might not be able to get them a month from now? I mean, what is the juice at Rayburn right now?
The lake was fishing, I would say personally, a little bit better about 2 or 3 weeks ago. The lake was a little higher. They've kind of dropped the bottom out from it a little bit, and there was a really good frog bite going on. But there is still some topwater stuff going on around the hay grass, not as much around the bushes like it was. For me personally, I like to throw a frog and pretty heavy cover on the bank. The water kind of dropped on me, so I kind of lost that bite. Like I said, the hay grass bite's still decent up shallow, with a little swim bait or a frog, stuff like that, or a swim jig, of course. And then the offshore bite's getting there. They're finally starting to set up offshore a little bit better. I mean, it's not easy. I have to spend a lot of time behind my graph to find those schools. I'm mainly on creek channels, stuff like that. So I'm running. I'll usually start in a creek channel in the mouth of a creek and run it all the way to the back on each hard swing that I can find. Normally, I'll find 1 or 2 groups in some of those major creeks running in there. I mean, the size is limited. My bigger bites have still been coming out of like offshore structure as far as, lay downs, brush piles, stuff like that. But it's still kind of limited on the size there. But the numbers have been decent when you find a good group of them. You can catch them pretty quick on a crankbait and Carolina rig, stuff like that. But the tournament season is pretty much wrapped up on Rayburn. I mean, all the championships and stuff like that. It's mainly January through April or May that all the major tournaments are going on. But for the most part, the late summer events, the fall events, are pretty much wrapped up. And, the lake will get a little break, much needed break, should I say. So that's pretty much what's going on at Sam Rayburn for me.
So what is it about that makes Rayburn so special? Is it the bonnets, milfoil, hydrilla? Or is, like you said, that sounds like a pretty short tournament season to me. Like here on Kentucky Lake, in its heyday, it started in January and it ended in December. It's like it never got a break.
Yeah, Rayburn is pressured, man. I mean, I don't know any other lake like it with the amount of tournaments that are on it. Maybe Guntersville's a close second. Maybe they have just as many events, but I mean, we're talking January through April, May. There is a tournament every weekend, if not multiple tournaments every weekend. It's always going to produce bags in that January, February time. It's just the pre-spawn on Sam Rayburn, man. I mean, that is the prime time, in my opinion, to be on the lake. So even though it's pressured, it's going to kick out bags. And I think it's special, especially that time of the year, because of a couple reasons, like you alluded to. The hydrilla, of course, the lake has fortunately had some healthy hydrilla the past couple of years. This past season, the hydrilla was actually really healthy. But the offshore bite always pretty much dominates that time of the year. We had a guy named Derek Mundy, who happens to be one of my really good buddies, who cracked 40 pounds on the first BFL this year and won that. And then he won.
That was sick. I've seen all that on Facebook.
Yeah, and then he won a Toyota Series event and had 38 pounds in that deal on day 2 in that tournament. Won that one as well. So the big bags are out there to be caught. It was no secret. He's out there catching them on a big plug. And I actually went fishing with him today on Lake Nacogdoches here in Nac. So
I've heard that's a really good little sleeper lake in Texas.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it too much. You know what I mean? I don't want to.
No juice on that one.
No, it's a good lake, man. It's a small little hidden gem. It's starting to get a little bit of pressure on it, but it really is a good lake. But like you were talking about Rayburn, man, it's a special place. But a lot of guys that come from out of town and get on it, they get kind of frustrated with it because it is a really kind of specific way to target those fish in certain times of the year. So until you kind of get your mind wrapped around what's going on certain times of the year out there, it is difficult to kind of keep up. It's to keep up with some of those local guys with bringing in these big bags. It took me a long time. It took a lot of screen time and a lot of time on the water to finally get my mind wrapped around the way to fish to compete, for tournament purposes on that lake.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was like I thought I knew Kentucky Lake when I was in high school or whatnot, running around in my little 18-foot nitro, but I didn't know a dang thing about offshore fishing. And
yeah, it's a different ballgame.
It's a different ballgame, but dude, once I learned it, and this was before side scan and down scan and Livescope, and I mean, I was offshore fishing, didn't even have a map card. I was like looking at a paper map and looking at the bank and looking at my graph and figuring out and dragging the ball and chain or throwing a big crankbait to figure out what's down there. And then as technology got a little bit involved, we had a map card. And then you had the X15 Lowrance. And the X15 was a game changer for me because I could see shad. And, we didn't have down scan and all that, but I'd learned enough of what was down there and the topo lines. I could roll up on a spot, and if I saw shad, it was like, boom, you're going to catch them. If you didn't see shad, you might as well leave. Well, now it's so advanced that if you don't see 5 or 6 bass sitting there, you might as well leave. It's crazy. Like we were doing OH Ivie.
Yeah, that was that's some next level kind of technology that we were kind of doing out there. But yeah, man, the game's changed a lot because of technology, and I think that's why you've seen some. There's always been big bags caught on Rayburn. I feel like a lot of them kind of were back in the day were caught out of hydrilla. We used to have really good matted up hydrilla in 20 foot of water out there. I never got to see that in my time, but I think now you're going to start seeing some really big bags being caught because of how good the technology has gotten. And like you alluded to on OH Ivie, there's no way we could do what we did out there without Livescope. And you're fishing for fish that are just haven't seen pressure, and that's why they went crazy. There was a couple things that was happening at the lake at that time, but having Livescope was pretty.
What's your opinion? first we gotta get Dick's question. Do you ever see the Googans out there fishing? You don't have to tell. I know you don't throw nothing at them, but do you ever see those guys out there fishing that secret water in Texas, or they just kind of do their own thing?
Do you mean the Googan Squad or like the Googans? Like, I mean.
Well, let's be honest. There's Googans on every lake in the country.
Okay,
they just don't have the Googan Squad on.
Okay,
there.
yeah. Oh, of course, we got those guys, man. I mean, we got hole jumpers. We got everything going on at Sam Rayburn. I mean, it's a drama fest out there, is what it is. I mean, one guy catches a big bag one. He'll be lucky if there's not somebody following him around pretty soon for that.
Yeah, that kind of happens here when a guy's won multiple events in a couple weeks. It seems to get a lot of followers. I think that's just part of the sport because look, we're not baseball, we're not NFL, nothing. You don't see the whole play. You know, you get to watch the whole play from start to finish. Whereas fishing, you just see the guy boat them. The only guy that can really see that is somebody that's on the water. And, of course, people get curious. They're fishing tournaments, and I think some people just want to know. So I respect a lot of the guys that have no problem coming on YouTube or a podcast and just, hey, man, this is how I caught them. I'm not going to give you my waypoints, but I'll tell you the bait, my setup, and kind of how I'm doing it. It's up to you to go apply that. And that's kind of how I am. And, you know, I don't have a boat right now. I plan on getting one here next year or two after I get this new job settled in. And I don't have an issue doing it, but there's some stuff, especially if you fish tournaments, you got a dedicated tournament partner, you just don't want to put out there. You know, I'm pretty good at dissecting a video if it's on Kentucky. Like I watched one last night. It's like, all right, I know exactly where that is. I know where that is. I fished that spot, but I've never fished that spot of the spot. And and then I seen something. I'm like, dude, somebody need to edit this out. I don't need that juice up there. That's good stuff.
Yeah, and that's kind of part of another whole new deal about technology and coverage that we have now, you know, and social media is, you know, some guys can kind of figure some stuff out that way. But I'm with you, man. Like, I mean, I'm that way. If I catch them in a tournament, I'll tell you, you know, what I caught them on, probably the depth I'm focusing on, everything. But I mean, we ain't gonna be giving out waypoints. You know, you just can't really do that, and especially on Rayburn, man. I know it's this way, probably on other lakes around the country, but there's a lot of money to be won on that lake. And when you start involving high amounts of money in anything, you're going to see some sketchy shit go on. You know what I mean? So that's just how it is.
It's weird, though. Sometimes a dollar will turn your best friend into your enemy really quick. And, hey, you know, if me and my partner are fishing a BFL and we're both fishing as boaters, we got a mutual respect. But I'm going to whip his ass when it comes to weigh-in. But we're also going to go grill hamburgers afterwards. But I'm never going to put myself in a position where we have to question each other's friendship or anything like that.
Absolutely.
And plus, I suck, so you don't have to worry about me too much. But I just call it like I see it. But, man, I can tell you the insides of a crankbait, no problem. So let's talk about the OH Ivie deal, because, you know, I don't want to be the guy that just clickbaits a YouTube channel. I actually messed up. I said state record. It was a world record, Wyatt. Tell us about your world record hybrid bass meanmouth, which is a, largemouth, smallmouth mix?
Yeah, she was a largemouth, smallmouth mix, man. And, you know, it was no secret that OH Ivie, I mean, you know, you were down there. You're part of that group from Sixth Sense that was down there, and that week while we were out there, it was very special, and we caught wind of it because Shane is friends with Casey. You know, Shane's a pretty big retailer for Casey. And, you know, he asked Casey straight up, you know, like, hey, how y'all catching them? And Casey told him, he's like, hey, man, we're out here. You got to have Livescope, and they're suspended, and we're catching them on an A-rig. Shane's like, dude, you want to go? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we rolled down there, and like I was kind of talking to you about earlier, the A-rig deal wasn't really going on. This was the first day we were there. And so Shane, this is a really cool story. So Shane pulled out a swim bait. I don't know what kind of swim bait. I don't remember what it was. It might have just, I don't remember exactly what brand it was or anything. But he caught like a seven something, like a 7.2, 7.4 pound, what we thought at the time was a smallmouth. So he tells me about it. I've never seen a dang smallmouth that big. So I'm like, I'm going to meet you at the ramp. I want to see this dude. So we get there, and He pulls it out of the live well. We're freaking out. He's like, dude, I got to go get it weighed. I think it's going to be like the lake record. I'm like, all right, man, I'm going to go out here fish and, holler at me and let me know what happens. So I go back out there and I'll start looking around for whatever swim bait I got in my box. And the first thing I see is a mag draft, Mega Bass mag draft. And I think it was a pearl. I think they call it a pearl bone. It's just the normal white one.
Yeah.
And I rig it up on a 3/4 ounce swim bait head. And I'm probably over 40 foot of water, so 35, 40 foot of water, but they're standing timber, standing up to about 20 feet. And, I mean, I'm literally just trolling motor on 5 or 6, just cruising, panning back and forth looking. And I finally see 2 dots out there at about 60 feet. And I throw past them. I come over the top of them. One of the dots kind of breaks off at the swim bait, and about 20 foot from the trolling motor, he tanks it. And I pretty much short lined her. And she freaked out next to the boat, came up as green as possible, as you can imagine, and jumped what it felt like it was at eye level when she came out of the water. And I had a buddy with me, reached down and lifted her, and we got her in the boat. And I was like, dude, this thing's bigger than Shane's. Like, he's going to be pissed when I call it. He's going to be pissed because
I hear some laughing in the background on that.
Yeah, that's my buddy. I was like, he's going to be pissed when I call him. So I call him like, dude, I got a bigger one. He's like, no, you don't. I was like, yeah, dude, it's bigger than that one you just showed me. It may not be a whole lot bigger, but it's bigger. So I throw her in the live well, run her up to her. Shane was still getting his fish weighed. That's how it wasn't long after I saw him. And we roll up there, and I get her weighed, and she ends up weighing more than his. We got some really cool photos of mine and his side by side. It was really cool. They're kind of, I think we never got his DNA results back from his fish, but I'm pretty sure his was a hybrid as well. I don't think his was full-blood smallmouth. You can kind of tell from the pattern on her, but it was a really special deal. And at the aftermath from all of it, we thought we just had a lake record because who was it? Luke Duncan.
No. Hold on, we're cutting out a little bit. We've lost Wyatt in the middle of one of the greatest stories I've ever heard. Uh-oh. I don't know, guys. Bear with me just a second. I'll see if I can get Wyatt back in here. Alright. Let me see if I get Wyatt back in here real quick. So that's a true story. Actually, it's kind of crazy. Zach from 6 Cents, we all thought Zach had the lake record or state record. And while his was getting certified, Wyatt caught that fish. All right. Let me see if Wyatt's back in here. I don't know what happened,
man,
Wyatt.
I lost you for a second.
I was telling the guys
I don't know what happened.
I don't know. It's technology, man. I mean, we lost Instagram and Facebook for like a whole day, and the whole world about burned down. But,
yeah, no kidding. I don't even remember where I was at with the story.
I was telling the guys, you're talking about Shane was getting that weighed in. I have on film Zach from 6 Cents catching like a high 7s meanmouth. And when he got it in, I said, dude, that's a meanmouth. And they're like, no, I think it's a largemouth. I mean, we debated for like 30 minutes. But I have it on film, have it being weighed, have it getting the measurements and all that stuff. And they basically sent all that stuff up to Texas Parks and Wildlife. Zach's all pumped, dude. I broke my PB, man. I might got a lake record. And then, boom, on Facebook, like 3 days later, there he show up. New world record. Zach's like, gosh, dang it. I'm like, dude, I don't care if it's a smallmouth or meanmouth. I've caught one smallmouth at 7 pounds here on Kentucky Lake years ago at night. That's a giant bass. This is more impressive than a largemouth, in my opinion, because you just don't see them grow that big.
Rare. They are rare. And Zach actually saw me at the Bassmaster Classic and said something to me about that. That was pretty funny. Because I didn't realize he had it. I thought Luke Duncan might have had it. It was just I couldn't tell who had what at that time, dude. It was like 2 weeks of madness going on out there. So,
is that the craziest as far as a week or two of bass fishing you've ever seen? I mean, I've seen like Kentucky Lake heyday where we can roll up with a 6XD or a Pala DT16 and catch 10, 20 pound limits just to your board.
Wow.
But again, that's only 20. You might get 25-pound sacks, obviously, and throw some hair jigs and whatnot. But that's not. There's guys catching consistent 30 to 40-pound bags, or guys like Josh Jones or Milliken catching multiple DDs a day.
Yeah, no, there's never been anything like that I can even think of. I'm sure there's some boys from Lake Falcon back in its heyday that has some great stories, but I don't see how anyone can say that they've seen anything like that. I mean, when we talked to Casey about it on the show, he did mention that Milliken was kind of the one that discovered that.
Yeah,
and
it's a true story. It's so crazy. Like, I'm driving to Choke and all that ice and storm. I actually did a stream right before I left. And, I didn't know if I was going to make it through Texarkana. Once I hit Texarkana, it was, getting a little sketchy. And I actually ran out of gas right outside Texarkana.
Damn.
And I had to, my light was about to come on. I had to backpedal 50 miles to find gas, and I had 12 miles to empty. And I filled up, and I made it all the way to right near Conroe, and I got some more gas just in case. But as I'm driving, I guess the day before, Ben had texted me. He was like, "Hey, you ever heard of a lake called OH Ivie? You know a lot of places." I'm like, "Yeah, I actually filmed Gary Klein out there like a decade ago, and he caught one bass in 2 days, but it was like 9 pounds." He's like, "Well, I hear big ones are in there, but it can be pretty tough." I said, "Well, I think the lake is came way up from what it used to be. It used to be standing timber everywhere."
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm driving. I'm almost to Texarkana, and he's sending us pictures. And he's like, "Zart caught a 16. I'm like, "BS, no way." And my phone, I was on the phone for 7 hours. People were calling me. But he literally found that it was the only open ramp he could find, and they just went out there. And of course, word got out, and Ben called Josh Jones, and Josh came down a few days afterwards and whatnot. But the whole he's a YouTuber, he can't fish or whatnot, dude. From firsthand experience, I think Ben's a freaking stick. I mean, to go out to a lake unknown, never been to, and just use your knowledge of your mapping, what fish should be doing. And look, Ben's a cold weather fisherman. It's not like he's not used to it. Where he's from in Nebraska, they fish a lot of cold weather and fish for a lot of suspended bass, and he's good with the Livescope. But
yeah,
I don't understand what made those bass bites so good. I could understand, catching one big one a day and maybe a couple small ones. But, dude, I was telling you before, the day me and Casey fished, it was a train wreck. We only had we had one stretch of about 2 hours where we might have caught one fish, but it was really good. If I can catch them, it's really good.
I mean, it definitely was all a perfect storm, time of the year, and that lake coming up after it had been low so long. I don't really know the scientific reason behind it, but it all fit together.
Got knocked out again. Don't know what's going on. There we go.
I
He's
got
back.
you back. I lost it for a second, my bad. But I think it was all a perfect storm kind of deal. And, man, I'm glad he exposed it, because I would have never caught that world record if it wasn't for him. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, he caught some flack, I think. Obviously that's going to happen. If, let's say anybody comes down here at Kentucky Lake and they catch a 30-pound bag of fish, it's going to rock the world because, hey, this lake's supposed to be dead, et cetera, and also people are going to flock back. And we saw that happen, in the prime years from 2011 to 2016, man. People were coming in here from California and I want to get on that ledge bite. And I love ledge fishing. And I feel like those Texas lakes like Rayburn, and Fork's a little different. They tend to get up on vertical stuff a little bit more, and they ghost a lot more. But I feel those East Texas lakes, that's my strength. So the last day, I never really fished but the first couple hours, and basically I was left with Brett Cannon's boat and the other dude that helps him out. And he's like, "What are you gonna do?" I'm like, "Well, I know how to read a graph." So I got out there, scanned, read the graph, found a ditch that kind of ran right up beside a creek channel, so there ought to be some here, and I could see. Now I drew some fish, made about 5 casts, caught one. I said, yeah, this ain't no big deal for me. But man, you throw me on some shallow water, I'm all spun out. It took me a day or two to figure them out on shallow water.
Right. Well, that whole ordeal, like you alluding to Milliken, and I'm sure he catches, like you said, he catches slack from doing the YouTube thing. Guys don't think he can do this or that or whatever. And I don't know much about the guy, but to go out there and do something like that, that's not something everybody can do. I just want to make that clear. Like, there was guys coming out there when we got out there that didn't have Livescope that wanted to shoot themselves in the face. They're out there not catching a damn thing. And even some of the guys with Livescope, they didn't really get it, So, that definitely was not something that was easy to do. I mean, he definitely knew what he was doing.
I'll go to some viewer questions here. This is a really good one. Terry Pettiford asks, why did they determine the age of your fish? I would say a 7-pound hybrid smallmouth here on Kentucky Lake or whatnot. That's probably going to be about a 10 to 12-year-old fish. It takes them a while to even get 3-4 pounds here.
Yeah, I'm assuming it was probably no. They did not tell me the age, but I'm sure it was not a young one. To be that dang big, it has to be a pretty old girl, I'm sure. But no, so they took scale samples off the fish, or I took scale samples off the fish. I clipped a piece of the tail off because that's what the biologist told me to do, and all they did was DNA testing on it. They might have found out some other stuff about it. They didn't tell me. I'm not sure. But all they wanted to do was determine the species on it. I didn't really get to know, because I think the guys at Texas Parks and Wildlife were kind of intrigued by it because they don't have much info on those fish. The biologist was probably more excited about the fish than I was on the phone. He was head over heels to learn more about that species.
Can I give a shout out to Sycamore? He just joined the Baitman channel as a member. We got 3 membership levels, guys. Janked. VIP, and then just a normal member that goes out to help the stream and get into some special giveaways and members only stream, whatnot. So shout out to all the guys supporting the channel tonight. Make sure you leave a like and share it. Don't do it for me, do it for Wyatt. He seems like a good guy, and that's why I had him on here, man. I love the podcast, and what I noticed about Texas Parks and Wildlife, man, they're hands-on, but they're not, I'm trying to think of the word, they're not just guys that are just trying to do their job. They like to go above and beyond. They want to see you catch big bass. And it was crazy. I netted Brett's fish. I documented the whole thing. We went to weigh it in. I joked with the guys. We were talking, and I said, I know a guy named Kelly Jordan. And he goes, oh, God, I know Kelly big time. So he's caught a few share-lunkers. And then he said, well, do you know this other guy, Dave Terry? And I said, yeah, I met Dave through Kelly. And we got to talking. He said, as soon as we get this fish all calmed down, healthy, he said, I'll get back out there. Y'all are going to catch another one today. I said, yeah, I'll see you in about an hour. We drive all the way back to Casey. And he said, guys, we got to go back. I said, what for? He reaches in the live well and pulls this dude out. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So we get on the phone. We call him like, have y'all left yet? And they're like, well, we're about 2 miles down the road. And I said, I want you to go turn around. He said, you're kidding, right? And I said, you said we'd do it, bud. We're coming back with one.
Heck yeah.
You hear of like 1, 10, or 12 a day over there, or a couple 10s. We do 2 14s within an hour. Off the same spot, by the way. It was really crazy.
That's impressive. Yeah. It was a freak ordeal.
Now, you mentioned Livescope, and I'm just going to put it out there. I love Livescope. I think it's awesome. But if it's just like any other tool. You can have the nicest graphs and all the stuff in the world, but if you don't take the time to learn it, it's not going to help you out any more than anything else. It's like just like baits, man. You can have all the JDM, the 6 Sense, the whatever high dollar glide baits and the best hooks and rods and reels. But if you're not around fish, all that stuff really doesn't matter.
No, you're right, man. And that's my biggest deal with the whole Livescope argument kind of thing. I've heard. I mean, it's a big topic, obviously, where people talk about should it be allowed in tournaments. I mean, I think that's kind of silly to say that it shouldn't be, man. I mean, it's one of those deals where, yes, fishing's changed so much and technology has changed so much, but in my mind, it's like get with it or get beat. You know, like I don't know how else to say that. Like, I'm sorry that it's not the way that it used to be, but Livescope is 100% a tool that you have to put your time in behind the screen to learn how to use it. It was the same way when Humminbird, Lowrance, Garmin came out with their side imaging, their down imaging, reading cartography. It's all about putting your time in, and there's no substitute for time on the water. I know that's an overused saying, but it's 100% the truth. I respect those guys that put their time in because I know that's what I do, man. I am on the lake almost every day. And whether I'm guiding a trip or I've got a tournament coming up, or I'm practicing for a tournament, I'm going to be on the water learning something every day, you know? And I'm kind of one of those guys that I don't take any piece of advice for granted. Maybe
Golly, we're getting into the juice. This thing just keeps cutting out when we're in the juice, man.
I got you back. I lost you again.
Yeah, we're going to have to tell Shane up there, we're going to have to upgrade to some fiber optic or something. I tell you what, I'll be back in Texas. I'm going to come down in spring a couple times. I took a new job. You don't know me that well, but I've been building windows for it was fixing to be 4 years. And I took a job with a place right here locally about a mile from my house. A lot better pay, but I got more time off. And so I'm going to be doing some traveling. And one thing I'd love to do, Wyatt, I like to go tackle shop, so I'm going to come through Rayburn. I'm going to slide in your DMs. I'm going to see if you can't get me out on that water, but I'm going to need a Tackle Addict tour, man.
Heck yeah, man. You'll enjoy the shop. It's an awesome shop, dude. You'll love it. Man, when you come down, maybe we can get you on the juice, man. Talk some fishing.
You probably have to format right. I'm an itty bitty guy, dude. I'm only like 5'5". You Texas guys, y'all are big guys. But speaking of guiding, man, when did you decide to make the move and say, you know what, I want to do guiding full time as well? And take us on a little bit. What can someone expect with you? Do you just guide for fishing? I know some guys do electronics only trips. They Livescope trips now. Or you just try to mix a bag, or are you a guy that does tournament prep trips?
I do everything. I do electronics trips. I do half day and full day guide trips. I got on 3 different lakes, and that's Sam Rayburn, Lake Fork, and Lake Nacogdoches. Tournament prep, Livescope, 360. I mean, I've dialed them all in. I've taken all those kind of trips. And the reason I got into guiding was basically just because I'm going to be on the water pretty much every day if I can, and why not make some money while I'm doing it? And I do it for basically the biggest reason I do it is for tournaments, man. And because the end goal for me is to fish professionally, and if I had it my way, I would want to be on the Elite Series. I know there's several other circuits out there now, but the tournament trial I want to qualify for is the Elite Series. So guiding is a way to keep me on the water and keep me in tune, as well as chase that dream. Once I saw, just that much of a window, because it is literally about that big of making money in this industry, doing it that way, that was enough for me. It's not, it's probably not the best financial decision in the world to try to become a professional bass fisherman. But it's something that once I saw the window of opportunity, I wanted to take it, and I've wanted to do it for a really long time. So that's why I started guiding full time. Shane was a big influencer on that because I was working at Tackle Addict at the time, and Shane's one of my really good buddies. And he told me, he's like, man, if you're going to do this, you need to go all in. And I think it'll work out for you in the best. And you need to quit jacking around with these small some of the smaller team derbies on Rayburn, and you need to start fishing opens and Toyota Series, and getting better on that route, and I thank him for that too. It was an eye opener to hear that from him, and that's pretty much why I got full time, man. I do it to stay on the water and continue to chase that dream.
Dude, I think it's awesome. It sounds like you have a really good support system there. I've never met Shane. I've heard great things about him. I've met Brian Robeson at the Classic when Texas debuted, and I didn't know who it was at first. And so we're looking at this boat, and he's like, "Dude, what do you think?" I'm like, "Man, it's pretty sweet. I'm actually fixing it. I've been in one." He's like, "Oh, really?" And I said, "Yeah." And pulled up my YouTube video, and it's got like 200,000 views or something. He's like, "Dude," he's like, "I'm gonna watch that whole thing." And we just got to talk. I said, "Man, you look really familiar." I'm like, "I'm not trying to be a fanboy, but aren't you Brian Robeson?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, dude, let's do a little video. Let's kind of recap what you think about it." He's like, "Oh, sure." Super nice dude, man. And but I wouldn't want to be an offensive tackle against him. Honestly.
He's a big dude, man. When you can make a career in the NFL, because it's not like he played for a couple of seasons. When you make a whole career out of playing I think his defensive end, you're a bad dude. So yeah, B. Rob's he's a big cat, but man, he's a really good dude, and he's hilarious. He's a fun guy to be around, and him, Shane, and Daryl Gleason, who's an Elite Series pro, are all at Smith Lake fishing the Open right now, and those dudes are all just a really good time to be around. And when all the Tackle Addict guys get together, it's a pretty fun time, man. They're just good people.
Yeah, I know Clark Ream. I know Clark for a long time. I know he used to tell me about shopping there and stuff. But again, support system goes a long way. I mean,
it really does.
Look, I don't make a lot of money off YouTube, but almost every name in this chat's in every time I stream. And whether I give a donation or join, it helps me want to do more videos. I'm also one of those guys, I always got a full plate. So I'm streaming on YouTube. I got to finish editing a TV show for Mark Menendez I'm kind of behind on. And it's got to be to the station tomorrow night. But it's nice when people support you. And if you work for somebody that can recognize you've got a talent or a specialty that's like, hey, man, I want to push you to that level. And help you along the way. It's just a good feeling.
Absolutely, man. And it was obviously him being my boss was an awesome supporting person, but my family and friends, they're everything to me. My friends are like my family, and that's my biggest support group, man. So without them, none of this would be even possible to kind of do this. And that's me and Shane started the podcast because we're not just starting the podcast for money. I don't even know how much money you can make doing a podcast. You know what I mean?
I don't know because I don't make jack. But
I don't even know. I'm sure maybe one day down the road if the podcast does well, we might get some sponsors or something and maybe pay for all the dang equipment that basically Shane bought. By the way, it wasn't me. Shane bought almost.
A lot of people don't realize me. And dude, no offense to Luke Duncan, I like Luke. He's low budget live, but dude, I'm lower budget than Luke. I promise you that. I know the camera he's using and all that, and the stuff he's integrating. I ain't got that. I mean, I'm on a free streaming program. I got a $50 Yeti mic and an $80 webcam, and we roll. Now, do I know how to do all that stuff? Yeah, and I could do it really nice, really big, but I don't have $5-6 grand laying around.
Yeah, and that's I don't either. Thankfully, Shane. We got Shane there, but he's one of those guys that when he does something, he ain't going to go into it halfway. You know what I mean? So he got nice mics and built a stand and got a $2,000 camera. And so he invested into it. And obviously I owe that dude a little bit of money, but hopefully we get some sponsors down the road that kind of just pay that off. But like I said, man, we really didn't get into the podcast deal for the money or anything like that. Like we really, I talked about it in episode number 1. I'm not sure if you watched it or not, but I said I really care about the sport, and I don't really want to see it go to a place that's bad. And like I said in the first episode, I'm not saying that it is, but I think there's some light that needs to be shed on some of the realities of the industry and the sport that nobody talks about, and that people are, I don't want to say scared to talk about, but these conversations, like being around a guy like Keith Combs, who's a Tackle Addict guy, being around a guy like Daryl Gleason, who's a Tackle Addict guy, Dakota Ebert, who's an MLF touring pro, multiple pros and then just talking to guys on the local level at Rayburn. There's a lot of things that we talk about that is not talked about like on a channel like this or like in the public, like for everyone to
we'll
see.
talk about it on we talk about some stuff on here, Wyatt.
Yeah.
I've gotten reprimanded a few times, but
there you go.
I don't have to listen. I'm team 6, and after that I really don't care, but I try not to bash anybody.
Right, no,
but
absolutely
you
not.
make a good point, man. I worked for and the listeners, I worked for Mike Otten for several years, and if you don't know, Mike was a touring bass pro on the Bassmaster circuit. There wasn't no late series when he retired, but so we were in charge of the first Toyota PAA event, and I got the project said, here's every angler in the PAA. I want you to go look up what they made in the last 3 years by tournament winnings only. Most, I would say 70% of the guys made the equivalent of $10 an hour. A lot of guys were losing money just to fish a tournament. And, it's a sad deal.
It is.
And I'm not going to mention any names, but I've been told by some pros and whatnot, look, I've got to either make 8 checks this year or win because my credit card debt is so high that I may not pay it off in 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's an unfortunate deal because I feel like we're a level now where the sport's big enough, and I don't just mean tournament fishing. You just look at YouTube and fishing and the money being spent. Why are guys still paying $5,000 entry fees to win $50,000 or $100,000? Why are we not grabbing a non-endemic sponsor? Let's just say Chevron and saying it's the Chevron event. It's Sam Rayburn. They put up the purse. They pay the anglers, or all that money's pooled together in your elite series. There's no entry fees, but you got teams, and if you don't perform, you're under a contract. If you don't perform, your contract gets pulled. You just say, hey, your contract's based on your performance, just like any other sport. Obviously, your KVDs, your Iconellis, your Lee Livices, those guys, they can demand $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 guaranteed. You win an event, just like NASCAR, the driver doesn't get the whole purse. He gets a percentage of it. Wouldn't it be easier to go fish a professional league tournament, which one you want to pick, knowing that you're going to get paid no matter what? You can still make your living as long as you perform. That's how I would like to see it go. You take your best 80 guys, you put them on, you name it, Baitman's Bass Fishing League. But anybody that's in this league, you're going to make a league minimum of $30,000. Your boat's going to be provided. That's where it gets a little sketchy in fishing, though, because everybody's got individual deals. You got a guy with a Ranger and Lowrance, then you got a guy who's got Triton and Humminbird and all that. How do you do that to where, okay, I made $30,000, I'm getting $30,000, but then I got to go spend $60,000 on a boat, so I'm still in a hole. Do you do this where you've got 10 sponsors and kind of like the old FLW team deal? That was actually a really good idea when they had the, Quaker State, Kellogg's, Jim Tutt, Texas guy, was one of the first Kellogg's pro. Jim Tutt's an awesome dude, by the way. Clark Winlet, all those guys had those team deals, and they were basically fishing out of a sponsor's boat. They didn't have that expense, and it's a lot easier to, take a 81st place finish when you don't have to worry about making your boat payment. But that's where I'd like to see the sport go. I don't know how we fix that. I don't have all the answers, but you brought a little trigger in me because I've seen the guys that grind and are great fishermen, man, great fishermen, but they're grinding so much they're putting themselves in debt, and I don't think anybody should have to do that.
No, it's the only sport. It's the only sport that I can think of. So where as you do better and as you continue to get to the next level and the next level, you're paying more and more. I mean,
Right.
like you see success and you're doing good, you're doing everything you're supposed to, but then you qualify for the elites or the MLF tour, and it's like, dude, can I even afford it? Like,
Right.
can I even pay all these entry fees? You know what I mean? It's really messed up, man. Like I want you kind of spoke on it right there. Like it is kind of a tough deal because I don't know how we could exactly fix it, but if we all came together and talked about it and kept pushing the issue enough, it would get these guys, like the head guys at Bassmasters, the head guys at MLF, the head guys at NPFL, trying to figure out a way to make it work. You know, at least the conversation needs to be had instead of sitting around and not really knowing what to do. If we all come together and start to talk about it more and more, we'll find a solution for it. But I 100% agree, man, because to qualify for the elites, especially the elites, that's a lot of work. Not very many guys can say that they've done that. And I think once you reach that level, you shouldn't have to struggle financially. I'm not saying that we're a sport as big as the NFL or the MLB or the NHL where these guys can sign contracts for millions of dollars. I understand they can't do that. But
Right.
there's got to be something there, like a safety net to say, hey, man, you know, I started off fishing high school, then I went to do the college thing, and then I went to do the BFLs, and then I went and did the Toyota Series of the Opens, and I saw success at every level. And here I am, however old you may be, you know, 25 to 40 to whatever your situation is, and you've been chasing it your whole life. And now you finally qualify and you don't know if you can even afford it because you might not be able to get the sponsorship backing, or your mom and dad's not loaded, or grandma and grandpa's not loaded. That's tough. You know, you look back at all those years that you spent chasing that, because I know there's guys that are like that. You know, there's guys that have made it, have qualified to the elites or the MLF tour, and they can't go. You know, they just can't go. And it's sad.
That's happened to a couple local anglers here. They made the FLW tour and they just, man, it's my life savings, and I get that, dude. I don't have a lot of money, obviously, but I kind of look at it like this. I've worked my butt off, and I love the fishing tackle, and I love helping people, and I love to communicate with people. But you know, I busted my butt for 3 years building windows, and I get this opportunity to move into. I spent about $30,000 to go to school for the job I'm doing. And obviously it pays good schedule. But it'd be like them hiring me and say, oh, by the way, to work here, we're also going to tax you an extra 25%. Like, well, man, I moved up in a better position, but now I'm losing money. I don't get it, you know?
Yeah.
But
it's the same exact concept.
I agree with you, man. I think there's a lot of stuff people don't talk about, whether they're scared to or it's taboo in the fishing industry. I mean, one I talk about all the time, especially in private, I'll talk about it right here. I'm not really scared of this. I feel that some of the old guard in bass fishing, they don't understand the power of social media and YouTube and Instagram. Yes. Now, I also feel like there's a lot of people on the Instagram and YouTubes that it goes both ways.
Yes.
Everyone feels they're worth either. Like, people tell me you're worth more than you say. I don't think so, but there's a lot of people that, well, I'm not going to be making YouTube videos. I ain't going to be a Googan. Those are exact quotes from Kevin Van Dam about 4 years ago to me at a Strike King media event. He said, you'll never see me doing YouTube videos. Guess what? Kevin Van Dam's doing them every week.
Yeah, it's key. I mean, for me personally, so let's just look at it. If we're going to talk about it, you got to be real about it and look at everything, right? So back in the day when these guys were coming up, it pretty much was you just catch them, and you'll be taken care of at some point. If you catch them and you continue to catch them, normally the sponsors will come, right?
Correct.
But that's not the way the game is now, man. As social media came out and stuff like that, these companies saw a new marketing and advertisement opportunity that didn't cost them anything. So it costed them to be on billboards. It costed them to be in magazines, stuff like that. I'm not saying that some companies still don't do that. I know they do. But I'm saying that is the old age of marketing. Here's the new deal, man. Now we're going to social media. We make an Instagram and a Facebook for free, and we can push our product not only from our standpoint, but from our pro staff guys. They're going to push our product. And that's how we're going to grow our brand, and social media is power now. So the way I look at it now is if you want to be a professional in this sport, you're going to have to get with it. It's just like the Livescope thing we talked about. It's not either get with it or you're going to get beat by it sometimes. Not all the time, but you're going to get beat by it sometimes in those tournaments that dominate with that certain technique, the forward-facing sonar, when you need it. Like, it's the same thing with social media, man. It's really, really hard unless you come from money or you know the right people without social media to get the sponsors you need to help you financially down the way, like when it matters the most, when you qualify. So my idea of it is, I'm gonna do everything I can for my sponsors and help them as much as possible. And whatever I need to do for the people that are helping me, I'm gonna do it. Is it really too much for them to ask of you to make a couple social media posts like about their product that you're using on the water? No. Is it really too much for you to do to film a clip of you catching this, doing this, and put it up on a YouTube channel or do this or that? No, it's really not at the end of the day. I think what it comes down to at the end of the day is guys just are lazy, and it's just extra work that they don't want to put in if we're going to have a real conversation about it. I don't personally have a YouTube channel, but I want to, but I don't have one yet. But like what I'm saying is I do everything I can.
Start one for the juice and just upload the juice to YouTube as well. I'm really guilty of this. Like, I do these live streams, and a lot of people listen to them on the way to work, and I should just re-download them and put them on my Podbean and throw them on iTunes and whatnot. I mean, when I talk about baits and I'm, showing you the insides of a megabass jerk bait and talking about putting the weight there, you don't get that on the audio, but some people do. People they get in tune, man. That especially on a long drive, I'll listen to Joe Rogan, and it's just like I'm right there in the studio. I may not be blazing up a doob or anything because I don't partake in that, but
that guy's wild.
There's a really good comment. There's a couple good comments here I want to check out. This is a good one, and I want to address this a little bit because I've been in the TV deal. I feel like TV's kind of dying away. So Chris McCluskey, great comment. You have to have a return for the sponsors. So that goes into your point. What's a great return? When I make a post about 6 cents and a bait or whatnot, and they sell 30 jerkbait boxes. I don't know if they really did. I'm just saying if. But they really didn't cost 6 cents anything. Now they do pay me. Just full disclosure, I do get paid from 6 cents. But they don't ever tell me what to post. I've got freedom and all that.
Mm-hmm.
That, for what they pay me in that return they just got versus we're going to go sign Joe Beetlebaum from Lynchburg, Virginia for $20,000. And he totally bombs in tournaments. Yeah, we got to mention on the weigh-in stage. It's not a good ROI.
Yeah.
Or, let's sponsor these TV shows. TV's kind of dying, man. I do a show with Mark Menendez.
Yeah.
It's local. Then we upload it to YouTube. The YouTube views aren't bad. I know the numbers for local TV. They're not bad at all, really, actually, for coming on at 5 o'clock in the morning. But, dude, what name fishing shows other than Bassmaster and MLF that people are actually watching? Like, remember back in the TNN days, you had that block of 2 hours. You had Bill Dance, Bassmaster, Orlando Wilson, Roland Martin, Fishburne. You had like the 3-hour stretch on Sunday mornings that I always watched before I went to church. There's none of that anymore. I mean, there's a little bit of stuff on the Outdoor Channel, but, I did work for the Outdoor Channel. It's a little political. I feel like if I'm a company, whether I'm a Tackle Addict, a 6 Cents, stuff like that, I'm focusing on the guys that are really good with social media and they understand technology. So my other gripe, being around some of these pros and stuff, dude, most of them don't want to learn. Like they say, I don't know YouTube, I don't know how to make a video, I don't want to do it. Or I can barely turn on my computer, and I don't, I'm showing guys, here's how to make an Instagram live video. This is the button you press. Oh, it's just too difficult. Man, it ain't that difficult. Trust me. If you can figure out to tie a free rig and Carolina rig and tie a FG knot and all this stuff, you can figure out how to make a social media post.
Yeah, but I agree, man. And that was one of the things, if you listen to the podcast that me and Shane and Casey talked about, I straight up asked him, does a guy like Milliken, does he sell more product than a guy like Albert Collins, he's a local hammer around our area. Just
you're a hammer when a guy in Kentucky knows about a guy in Texas.
Yeah, the guy does not mess around.
Right, I knew about Albert and Castledine, and I have a really good Ray Hanselman story. I knew about those guys for a long time.
Yeah,
Ray is a super nice guy, by the way.
Albert, that's.
Go ahead with what you were saying. I'm sorry to interrupt. Oh shit! Gosh dang, boys, we were really getting to the juice then. The freaking Gestapo. I think Lunkers got our stream. I don't know what happened. Got sniped there. Somebody must not like fishing with Albert Collins. We just got sniped. Hey guys, I want to give a shout out while I'm waiting for Wyatt to rejoin. We had a couple new members join. Sycamore Outdoors, Robert Linson. I'll figure out how to. He's back. I'll figure out how to. You guys can join through mobile. I might have to YouTube figure it out. Dude, we're right in the juice, man. Somebody's sniping our stream, Wyatt.
I don't know what's going on. My Wi-Fi signal is strong. I have no idea what's going on. But like I was alluding to, we asked Casey about whether a guy like Albert or Milliken brings in like sales, and it's kind of a no-brainer that Milliken does, right? Like he has a bunch of subscribers on YouTube. He's got a lot of people engaged in his social media. And that's just kind of where the sport has gone. Because if you'd asked that same question, 10, 15 years ago, obviously Albert's going to be selling more product. And it's not taking anything away from him. I respect Albert. I know Albert, very well. Like, obviously, I always respect what he's done and everything. It was the guy I looked up to on Rayburn. But it's just kind of like an example of where the sport has gone and how it is, So, and that's why these companies want to see guys that are good with social media and that are catching them. You still got to catch them. That's one thing I talked to Casey about. Like, you still got to catch them.
Right.
Like it's not easy. The level of competition is getting harder and harder and harder. You still got to catch them, but do your job for your sponsors too, man. It's not that much. It's not that much to ask.
I'm just a dude that knows a lot about baits, man, and I try to catch my one bass a month. It made me feel really good in Texas, and I was telling you before, I've held off on putting all my Texas footage up, and a lot of it's never seen, but it made me feel really good. He grabbed the camera. I'm doing, the selfie interview, trying to close it out. He grabs it. He's like, hey, I'm just here to tell y'all, Baitman is a hammer, and he can catch them like. And it made me feel good because I'm pretty hard on myself, and I try not to have any kind of, big head. I'm just an average fisherman. I love baits. I love talking fishing, obviously. I like learning, man. If I can learn something from Wyatt Frankens or Todd Castledine or from Casey, from Milliken, I want to try to implement that when I do try to go fishing. And I feel that's where it's about. And people give Randy Blockett a lot of crap, including me. And I know his videos are out there.
A lot of shit.
He does catch a lot of shit. But I'll give Randy this. I'm going to be really honest. He puts himself out there, and he's got really thick skin. Very rarely has he ever got into it with somebody that's left a comment on YouTube or Facebook. And he's willing to put it out there. And what may be a secret to him may not be a secret to me or you. But he's putting it out there. And, dude, he's putting a lot of it. Now, I don't agree with some of the more clickbait stuff. But Randy was a good fisherman back in the day. And I think he seeing, man, I got to be relevant if I'm going to make any kind of money anymore. And whether it's through fishing or YouTube or whatnot, and you can't be relevant on YouTube if you're not doing anything different. I mean, my channel's been pretty stagnant this year. I'm just 17,000 subs. I mean, I hit 16,000 like that, and it just sat there. Part of that's on me too, but puts himself out there, man, and I respect that.
Yep.
Whether I agree with it or not, and I'll be honest. Hey, if we're gonna get in the dirty, I'll tell you right now. One thing that bothers me on the whole YouTube social media is if you don't agree with my opinion, screw you. I don't like you. You're terrible. I hate that. Like, there's nothing wrong if I say, man, I'll tell you, I really think using a composite cranking rod, that's the deal for square bill. And you go, and Wyatt goes, no, man, I'm telling you, graphite's the deal. You give a reasoning, there's no reason to be upset or this guy's wrong and this guy. Hey, figure out what works best for you. And
Right.
I feel like right now we're kind of at the stage where there's a lot of finger pointing. This guy's a quitter, or this guy doesn't understand I have a mental illness, and screw the NFPL, and screw MLF, and screw Bassmaster.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to pick a side. No, we ain't got to be like that.
No.
And at the end, I think people are doing a lot of that to get those clicks, get those views.
Yeah, I agree, and that's kind of that's a whole other topic, man. That's like the Juice podcast. I'm about to write that down. We're going to talk about that topic. People are sensitive, man. And so many haters in this sport. I'm the same way as you, man. Like, whether I like this brand or like that brand, or I do this and this guy does that, like, that's okay. Just because we don't agree with each other doesn't mean it's the end of the world. You know what I mean? Like, I think people are just a little over exaggerate about a lot of things in this industry, and people can get their feelings hurt way too easily now. And I think that's just came with the times. Like, I think that's kind of like just came with the times. I'm not saying there's some older guys that aren't sensitive, but my generation below me, they've been pampered their whole lives and they get butt hurt easily. So,
right. The only thing I don't like is bait shaming. When a guy's it works both ways, because, dude, I've done it. Like, I'm talking about a mega bass, and someone's like, well, I'll just use my Smithwick Rogue that's $4.99 or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, come on, dude, you can't compare it to. But at the end of the day, you know what? They got me to catch 10 times as much as I've ever caught on a Smithwick Rogue.
Yeah.
And so,
it's all confidence.
People love to. It's all confidence, and at the end of the day, if you're having fun, you're getting out there. What does it matter? I'd love to see you throw 6 cents baits or anything I talk about, but if you don't want to buy it for whatever reason, don't worry about it. It ain't gonna bother me.
Yeah, not everybody's out there trying to be Elite Series pros, man. Some people just enjoy fishing. Most of the community that follows you, that follows these YouTubers on fishing, follows us on social media, they don't want to be pros. They just like to fish. Most people that take out on guide trips, they're just there to enjoy the day and catch fish. And that is what the basis of this sport should always be about, is that right there. Like, at the end of the day, man, it is just fishing, So
yeah, I got really burnt out on tournament fishing, which is really sad, because when it happened, it was like 08 to 2010 to 2012, right as soon as Kentucky, the 10XD came out. Like, that's how I got back in. My partner's like, dude, you got to go out and throw a 10XD. This is the stupidest thing. He's like, you haven't been fishing in like 3 years. But, dude, I got burnt out, man. It wasn't fun. But I've had more fun in the last 5 or 6 years just doing YouTube videos, these live streams. I started streaming in my kitchen off the table and on Facebook, and I have so much fun and I enjoy the people. But whether you're a YouTuber, you're a tournament fisherman, or you're an everyday guy, or you're a swim bait chaser, whatever you want to call it, it's about having fun, dude. And I'll be honest, some people's fun is buying a bait and flipping it, making $20, whatever floats your boat. But when you have that Juice podcast, you let me know. I'd be ready for that one. I got a lot of stuff I can talk about. But
we got some. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying, we got some. We've got some really interesting people coming. And we got some different kind of views coming from different people. Casey was the first guest on, and he dropped some freaking knowledge on us about the industry and the state of it and sponsorships, all that good stuff. We're gonna have Justin Rackley on, who's a Googan Squad guy, who was kind of like the pioneer of this YouTube stuff. I don't know if he was like the first, but he was one of the beginning guys.
Yeah, I like Rackley. He's a good dude.
He is.
One of the good compliments I ever got. He made a video. And so I used to do Classic Patterns TV show. That was a really big show on Outdoor Channel. That's my first show I did. I edited it and everything, filmed it. and he's doing this video, and he starts his intro. He said, I was watching this show. It's one of my favorite TV shows ever. It's called Classic Patterns, and he described it and everything. I'm like, dude, that made me feel awesome that here's a guy on YouTube that has a pretty big following, and he's sitting there saying that he watched the show, I edited and filmed, and he learned something off of it. Yeah, well, that's a cool deal.
Yeah, it is, man. Rackley's he's a good guy. From what him and Shane are like really good buddies, you know. And Rackley, like we were gonna do like a stream like this, or just film a show like with him on the phone or calling in, or do like this, like me and you're doing. And he's like, "No, dude, I want to come to the studio." So Rackley's gonna come to the studio and do it. And he's going to drop a lot of, you know, kind of some of the stuff me and you have already touched on today and some other stuff. But that's what like you said, at the end of the day, it's all about having fun. That's what the podcast is, dude.
Right.
I can promise you, me and Shane ain't going to get our feelings hurt over that. If anybody hates on our podcast, we're doing it to have fun. And that's why I do this sport. If I can tell you right now, if I ever was – one of the biggest things I was warned about when I started guiding full time was like, hey man, don't get burnt out on fishing. Don't let guiding and fishing tournaments, trying to do it for a living, don't let it burn you out. I can assure you this, man, if I ever lose that love for the game of just fishing, I won't do it anymore. So that's why I do it at the end of the day, is because this is what I love to do. So,
yeah, I think you got a really good head on your shoulders, Wyatt. Obviously, you probably know more about the ins and outs of the retail aspect than most people that I've ever had on, and I'd love to have you back again. I don't know how much time you got, but this is very important. If somebody wants to come fish with you in Texas, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, man, I've got a website, and it's www.wfguideservice.com. You can book on there. Like I said, I do electronic trips and guide trips on Sam Rayburn, Lake Fork, and Lake Nacogdoches. And also, you can hit me up on my Facebook, which is just Wyatt Frankens Guide Service, or on Instagram, and that's just at Wyatt_Frankens. And you can hit me up on any of those, man. And my number's posted all over my posts and stuff. You can call me, text me, however you need to do it. You can get a hold of me, and we can work something out. So.
Now I got to throw some bait questions at you, because this is the Baitman show.
Let's do it.
All right. What's your favorite bait of all time? What's Wyatt's favorite bait? Doesn't have to be the one you catch the most on. What's your favorite bait of all time?
My favorite bait of all time is going to have to be a frog, honestly. Like, when I can lock that dude in my hand in a tournament, I feel really confident. And I'm just at home with it. It's something I did a lot growing up on Rayburn and stuff. So when I can find out they're eating that, especially in a tournament situation, I feel really good about it. So yeah, frog.
Dude, I love a frog. I won't say it's my favorite, but that's also because they killed the grass here on Kentucky Lake. I fish a frog.
They put some grass carp in your fishery, man.
We've had grass carp. We got these Asians. We got the Asian invasion.
Asian carp. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. You ever come here, man? You come down this way, man. We'll have to go. I can still catch a few every now and then, but my frog fishing's different. I'm using a frog more like a pawpaw, or I'm trying to cover water, skipping it under docks and open water frogging. And I love it, man. There's a window, about a 2-week window a year, man. It's the deal when you catch some giant sacks, and people are like, "Yeah, right, you're catching them on frog," and I'm like, "Dude, I mean, water hits 60, you can catch them on frog." But I would say in Texas, a frog's probably a really popular favorite bait. Just from my retail days, I used to ship a lot of them out there.
Yeah, it's a pretty. I mean, you can just put it where you can't put a lot of other things, man. I skip it a lot under bushes, heavy cover. I'm throwing under trees, hay grass, over the top of hydrilla mats. I mean, I can take it pretty much anywhere around the Texas area and get bit on it. So I just like it's so versatile.
Here's a good question. I knew as soon as you said frogs, we were going to get lots of good comments. From Get Your Fish On, he does a great channel. He does some really good, about 5-minute bait breakdowns. Lots of different stuff. Awesome. What's your favorite frog?
Man, that's tough. I've actually started experimenting with some new ones this year. This year, just recently, I started experimenting with the Terminator frog.
I've heard
And I
a lot of
really,
good things about it.
dude, I really like it, especially their smaller one because it's heavy. It's like almost just
Right.
as heavy as the bigger one, and I can bomb that thing, and it's got a lot more softer body on it, so they don't have to bite down on it as hard. Maybe if they're not eating it as aggressively, which a frog bite normally is pretty aggressive, but I like it. It's got good hooks in it. Of course, Spro. I actually only throw some of the certain ones in Spro, like their darker colors and stuff. Some of them have too much paint and they're a little harder, you can tell, but some of their lighter colored ones are a little softer on the body because their paint's not as thick, I guess. They don't put as thick of a coat on it. And because that's my deal for me, man. I can't throw a hard body frog. I lose confidence with it. I don't like to bend out my hooks and do all that stuff. So I just like because I like the way the hooks come standard on the frog, where it's double hooked on right where it comes, and I like a softer body. So the Terminator's actually been one for me lately.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that. If someone had asked me my frogs, I love the Jackal Gavacho.
Yeah,
I know
I've heard good things about
Brackley
that.
likes that frog a lot. You know, he used to be Shimano Jackal rep, but that's a really good walking frog. And for what I do, it skips really well. Obviously, I like the Vega frog from Six Sense, but you know, gun to my head, you said you got to pick one out of that frog box to fish a tournament with. I'm going to get the Gavacho. I'm just really confident in it. You know, that's nothing against anything else, but for what I like to do, works. Boy, the frog questions are coming in. Why you shouldn't have said that.
Here we go with the frog, boys.
Yeah. They're on Tackle Addict's website, right? Terminators are?
They should be, yeah.
All right, so, you know, I'm a Tackle Warehouse affiliate, but you know what? For this stream, guys, if y'all need anything we'll talk about, go to the Tackle Addict website and say, yo, saw Baitman and Wyatt on there talking, got a place in order. I know Shane would appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
But here's another one. Good frog question. All right, I get this a lot. Is a popping frog better than a regular hollow belly frog? So, you know, you got the Spro popper versus the regular Spro bronze eyed.
Yeah.
Do you feel one's better than the other, or is it? I just feel it's situational for me.
Situational for sure. If you've ever tried to throw a popping frog in a lily pad field, you basically want to kill yourself. So,
yeah, it ain't gonna work out.
Their popping frog's more of an open water deal, or more like maybe a sporadic grass deal where it spits a little water. I like it in those situations. The regular frog, or just the normal walking frog, I think they call it, is for the thick stuff for me. So,
all right, here's a good question from Matthew. He says, "What's your go-to bait for tournaments? Like, what do you start out with every time?" Or, you know, obviously, you can't start out with a 10-inch worm in the middle of well, I guess you could, but
you're not. If you're on Sam Rayburn, you can't.
Yeah, if you're on Sam Rayburn, you can.
Yeah, that's situational as well for me. The beginning of this season, for example, on Rayburn, I was starting off in the hydrilla, ripping a trap, throwing a chatterbait. That's how I would start, and then I'd move offshore, throwing a big plug, looking for a big bite the rest of the day. So it's kind of situational in that deal as well.
Dude, I love a crankbait. I've got more crankbaits.
Yeah.
This was, I would say, between Rayburn and Kentucky Lake there in the, you know, when the 10XD came out, I would say these two lakes sold more crankbaits than any other place in the country.
Yeah, had to have, man. I think Phil Marks, he actually passed away. Really good
Great
guy.
bait designer. Phil was a good dude, man. Designed the 10XD, designed a lot of stuff for Strike King.
I think he won a big tournament out here on it after before he actually released and on Rayburn.
Yeah, I watched it on YouTube not long ago.
Yeah, absolute hammer. One of the legends of Sam Rayburn, and it was really sad when he passed away this year. But yeah, man, he kind of was the designer of that bait, and when it came out, man, it's crazy because it's not as big as a player anymore. You know, like I don't really throw it that much.
I got a Phil Marks bait you might know a little bit about. Let me grab this thing.
Oh man.
Now, here's what this bait's been discontinued twice now. It came out and got discontinued. They brought it back, it got discontinued again, and I just happened to be working in Tackle Shop where he had a ton of them. I kept sending all these things out to Rayburn, and I was wondering.
Oh no! I really hope it ain't the bait I think it is.
It's a Strike King bait. 6 cents makes one now. That guy right there. The old Strike King Wake Shad.
Oh, dude. I mean, you're talking about. I'll be honest with you. I never threw that one, but the 6 cents one, I've thrown quite a bit. I actually had a really good finish in a BFL this year on the 6 cents wake bait. Does 6 cents still make that one?
Oh yeah, the speed wake. I was throwing it this morning. That was my Instagram post.
Dude, that's a deadly son of a gun right there. I mean, that's a deadly bait.
Like that wake shad had a cult following, and it really started there. Toledo being Rayburn, running over the top of hydrilla. It's not a good bait. If you touch the grass, it fouls up. Same with the speed wake. But if you got a foot of grass underneath,
just a little bit of water column, yeah. Oh man,
I love that speed wake.
There'd be some old school guys. I doubt they're tuning into the YouTube deal, but there'd be some old guys on Rayburn that wouldn't be happy about us talking about that bait. But that's
okay.
That's a deadly little dude right there. And the 6 cents one is like, I don't have any of those. I wish I did, but the 6 cents one, I love it. Hell of a bait. The
one thing I'll say is wake bait's very situational for me. Like, I was up early this morning. I went over the pond to do my Instagram posts, and I was like, dude, this thing looks crazy with this reel. You know, I'm not trying to pimp a bait, but it's going to be a cool photo. And it was dead slick, and I'm throwing that speed weight, and you could hear that little tick, 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 tick. Yeah. That's the deal.
Dude, they're aggressive. That's an aggressive bite. Very aggressive. I like it.
Unfortunately, there's only like 5 bass in this pond, but
I like it a lot after the fish spawn. And they're coming back up, like during the bluegill spawn and stuff. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
Around that time.
Yeah. All right.
Dude, we've talked for a while.
You ready to get off here? You ready to get off here?
No, man. I'm not, man. I mean, it's up to you. I've had a great time, man. I feel like because me and you didn't really know each other that well before this deal, and I'm glad we got to talk, man. I really am.
Dude, absolutely, man. Anytime, like, I'll talk. You know, Mark Jeffries, BTL, the OG, the godfather of fishing talk shows and streaming. I love Mark. He's been saying, I'm going to do a 24-hour stream. We're going to do it all night. I don't think Jeffries has the stamina, but I promise I can do it. And I almost did it last year. But we'll sign it off with this. This is one of my favorite questions I always ask guys. Name one overrated bait, and then name one underrated bait.
Dude, that is tough.
Oh, it's loaded. That is tough, buddy.
Oh man, overrated.
Think about this. I always put it back in my retail days when I'd be like, "Man, I'm selling all these things. I don't ever catch shit on this thing." And for me, I was always the whopper plopper was always overrated to me. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna catch him on a buzzbait. I don't need a plopper. Now, I've changed my mind a little bit, but
that's interesting.
I feel the fish have gotten really accustomed to the whopper plopper, especially in my area, and I caught a lot more fish on a buzzbait. Last time I was fishing with my partner, I smoked him on a buzzbait, and he's throwing a plopper. I wouldn't sniff it.
Dude,
I had something crazy. It was just a basic buzzbait.
I'm gonna go with a bait that's probably gonna piss some of the Rayburn locals off, and it's a specific brand of bait that I think is overrated, and that's the Bill Lewis rattle trap.
Whoa!
I really think that bait has really lost its time. I mean, there's a lot of guys on here right now that are like, "What? What did you just say?"
See, I think the rattle trap's underrated on Kentucky Lake because you got so many guys throwing Strike King and 6 cents and all this stuff.
Yeah,
that I go behind people with a rattle trap and I catch them. But I totally get what you're saying.
Hey, man, I promise there's some guys like, did you really just say that right now? I mean, I mess with some of the old Rayburn guys about it all the time because that's all they'll throw is a Bill Lewis rattle trap. But, man, I've just gotten so used to throwing different ones because there's so many out there. Yozuri makes a really good one. 6 cents makes some really good ones. I think I throw different ones in different situations, but that dang Bill Lewis rattle trap, not a fan. I do not like throwing that thing through the grass, dude. I do not think it comes through that stuff near as good as some of these other ones that are designed.
I don't think it does either. The guys at Gunnersville swear by a rattle trap. Like my buddy Blake Paul, he's an absolute hammer. He's like, all I throw is a rattle trap net. That's it. He's like, I don't own anything else.
There's actually one I've been throwing now that Timmy Horton and Profound Outdoors make is the Azuma one.
I've got
it's
some, man. It's a really good bait.
Dirty dude. Do you have that heavy one, the Heavy Z? It's like a 3/4
No, I
ounce
don't.
one.
The ones I
That
have
thing
are
is freaking nice.
so Ben Parker gave me the ones I have. The Magnum Spoon guy. Like he's like out of fishing, and I was over his place, and he's like, "Dude, take these," and he just hands me a box full of baits. And I was like, "What are these?"
Yeah.
He's like, "That's the baddest little rattle trap you'll ever throw." And
Yeah.
it was a Zuma shaker, and I've caught a lot of fish. They
Shaker
make a
Z.
chrome, a gold with like a purple black back, and dude, in the fall, it's really killer out here. Back when we had fish, but. That's very interesting though. I heard somebody laughing in the background, but
that's my buddy. He probably thinks I'm an idiot too. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, hey, that's just my opinion.
But I think you got a good reasoning for it. As long as you can back it up with good reason, I could just sit here and say overrated Googan baits because don't like Googan baits, but guys obviously catch a lot of fish on them.
Yeah, I don't use any of their product. Let's
go underrated.
Underrated.
Go underrated.
I think this may not be underrated by some people, but it's kind of a bait that's been kind of forgotten about over time, and that's a spinnerbait, man.
Yeah, you're talking my jam, dude.
Spinnerbait. I'm sure you being on that area, but I don't know if it's necessarily underrated. I know guys know that it catches fish, but I think it's almost a technique that's being forgotten about. I mean, maybe you disagree, but I don't hear a lot of guys talk about throwing one, and I mean, I throw it quite a bit. Honestly.
Yeah, the big Oldham spinnerbait. You remember the Terry Oldham stuff?
Yeah, the big ones.
Terry made an amazing flipping jig, but he also made a spinnerbait, and that really was big here on Kentucky, like in the late '80s, early '90s when I was smaller. Menendez won a ton of money. Terry Bolton, Dan Moorhead, slow rolling that big Oldhams. And 6 Cents has a screw lock, but OG Terry Oldham's was putting screw locks on the jigs and spinnerbaits for a long time. The trailer hitch jig, man, is amazing. But I would agree. I feel like that's an area where you had Brett Hite winning all this money. You had Swindle talking about jackhammers, and when that chatterbait came out, people just forgot about a spinnerbait. They said, we got a chatterbait, and now swim jig's huge. Swim jig's a little overrated. Depending on where you live at.
Not here.
People really put the back burner on a spinnerbait. Said, well, I got to check
they do.
Start out and reel it in, twitch my rod, and don't. But my deal is I lose a lot of fish on a chatterbait. When I get a spinnerbait bite, my quality is a lot better per fish than it seems on a chatterbait. Like I can run down a bank, and if they're biting good, I can catch 10, 15 fish on a chatterbait. Catch a lot of 15 inchers. I might run the same bank with a spinnerbait, catch 3, but they'll be 3 to 4 pounders.
Right.
That's where I see a difference.
Yeah, I would say that's kind of, I don't know about necessarily underrated or not, but definitely forgotten about. Technique that's been forgotten about. I know there's some guys out there like.
Yeah. We up in here got 120 people talking spinnerbaits here. We going hard, and we got Googan again. Once Wyatt gets back, guys, we're gonna call it evening. I got you. Right, he's back. I think the deal on the spinnerbait, what's lost is slow rolling that big spinnerbait. Where you still see a lot of people throwing them at the bank and around Shelly Road, but you don't see a lot of guys tying on a big one and slow rolling it. Now Terry Bolton, Bolton won at Rayburn slow rolling that big accent blade. That's a great spinnerbait.
Yep, he was cranking and throwing a spinnerbait. Absolutely.
Well, Wyatt, we've been on for an hour and a half. Just got another new member, Jade Owen. I should have probably told. Yeah, we'll probably talk for a while. But Wyatt, you've been a great guest. I've learned a lot about you, and I can tell you kind of remind me of Matt Pangrac just a little bit. I can tell that you're just passionate about fishing, the tournament scene, and all that. And you're welcome back on the Baitman Live anytime you want to be. You win a tournament or something, bud, you better be on here and spill the beans.
Absolutely.
Or craziness in the industry. I'm ready. And when I come to Texas, man, we're going to do a tackle tour of Tackle Addict, and we'll try to get on a couple bigs there on Rayburn.
Absolutely, man. That'd be awesome. And I appreciate you having me on the show, man. I really, and me and Shane as well. We both appreciate you letting us talk about the juice. I appreciate letting me talk about my guide service, and hopefully more big things to come in the future.
Yeah, man. Not a problem at all, dude. That's part of what I do. You know, it could be easy for me to call up the guy that just won this tournament or that tournament and have the hottest guys on, but I feel like it gets a little redundant, and I like having different people from different areas of the country that fish different or play different baits or have something else going on. I feel like there's a lot of people that need some exposure. I'm not huge. I'm not, Lunkers TV and all this. But I feel like my audience is really dedicated, and they know I'm a no BS guy, and I wouldn't bring you on here if I didn't think you were somebody worth talking to. So,
Yeah.
guys, do me a favor. Smash the like button. Leave a comment after the video. Talk about anything you want. I love YouTube comments. I respond to them all. I'll go put some social media links on this video to your stuff. Guys, if you're going to Rayburn, go shop at Tackle Addict. Call Wyatt if you want a fishing trip. He might show you how to catch the next world record.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it, man.
No problem, man. Guys, I'm going to end the stream, and I hope you guys all have a good evening. I'll see you guys back Saturday night, Baitman Live. We'll be talking baits. We got to knock out these walking baits. We're going to talk some top waters. Thank you guys all for joining. Wyatt, I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.